Hey guys, Allie Duzette here, and it is super early in the morning, but I wanted to talk about self-sabotage. And so we are going to do that right now. What is self-sabotage? Okay, it is when we are consciously or subconsciously preventing ourselves from experiencing good. Okay, this is when you get sick on vacation, when you waste your money on stupid stuff, when you know that you're trying to save up for something else. It's when you watch TV instead of studying for your test. Self-sabotage is a universal problem. Literally everybody deals with it. And today I woke up thinking, oh my gosh, I have to address self-sabotage today. I have to do it. In my opinion, this is one of the major purposes of our earth life, is to rise above self-sabotage. In my opinion, God wants us to be our best selves and experience good and have joy. And who's the main people that are blocking our ability to have joy? Well, that would be us. We are the ones that stand in our own way, right? So our entire earth life is structured around learning to release tendencies towards self-sabotage. And all of the experiences that we have in our lives are invitations to let go of self-sabotage. It's this idea that all of the things that come to us, oh geez, I should have made my slideshow longer, but basically it's this idea that our own inner beliefs, our own inner ways of thinking about the world, kind of work as like a magnet. And as we go about our lives, we kind of magnetically attract these experiences that are, how do we say it? They confirm our biases, okay? Like confirmation bias. I'm sure you've heard that term before. When you believe that something is true, then things show up in your life that confirm that to you, even if it's not objectively true. And so one example of this that I use a lot is like, if you assume that everybody hates you, and then no matter what happens, it's a confirmation that people do hate you. So like if you feel like everybody hates you and then somebody forgets to do something for you, then in your mind you're like, it's just another confirmation that they hate me, even if they don't hate you. But because your brain was in that space, your brain will just automatically assume that of the situation. Our brains are always looking around for confirmation and validation of the things that we believe. And the thing is that our beliefs are not always conscious. Sometimes they are subconscious, and then we don't realize that we're doing it. We don't understand what's happening, right? We go through our lives and we don't understand why these things keep showing up, these patterns that we keep living through, when the patterns that we keep living through are expressions of the things going on in our subconscious mind that our brain is looking to validate. And so these concepts really impact our behavior. It really impacts how we interact with other people. Whatever we subconsciously believe about how the world functions, that really impacts how we treat others and how they treat us in response. Because, the way that we enter situations with other people really impacts how those situations turn out for us. And so when we come into these situations from a place of love and peace, typically, even if people start out with some animosity towards you, with enough love and peace, people generally, change their tune. When we come at things from a space of defense, needing to defend ourselves, or even offense, when we try to prove something, when we go into situations assuming the worst, typically our brains will make sure that we end up experiencing what we went into it expecting. So I hope that made sense. But basically, our entire Earth life, we get to use our bodies as this powerful magnet. All of our physical bodies are filled with atoms, right? And molecules, and they're all vibrating, okay? This is quantum physics. And as they are vibrating, they're vibrating at various different frequencies, right? And the frequency at which they're vibrating is inviting everything else of that same frequency to just come along for the ride with us. And so if we have a low frequency, then we're probably going to experience lots of low frequency problems, like frequent breaking down of your vehicle, or frequent trouble in relationships. Those are all low frequency problems. And then if you have high frequencies, then you're probably going to just naturally attract the good stuff, great relationships, plenty of money and resources. You're going to attract the good things, because it's not, I don't know, it's not like pheromones or something. It's like magnets. It's like magnetism. It's like physics. It's like how atoms work. And it's how our subconscious mind works, where again, if we're expecting things to be bad for us, then our brains will definitely, work hard to make sure that we receive what we were expecting. And that means bad things. Like if we expect bad things, our brains are going to go forward and try and help that be possible for us, so that you get to be right, because our brains just want us to be right. Okay. So here I had written sin as self-sabotage. Sin is like a really religious word, right? And it deals with when you break commandments. I don't know, sin has like a really negative and dark connotation, I think. And for me, I think of sin as living out of alignment with the laws of the universe. So for me, I feel like, God operates on a set of laws, like the divine, our higher power. There are laws that govern the whole universe, and even our higher power abides by them. And that's why, in my opinion, like the 10 commandments are an expression of, like, if you have to boil down the laws of the universe into some rules so that people can easily live in alignment with the laws of the universe, like here's 10 commandments that can help you live in alignment with the laws of the universe. It's not about the divine trying to control people or trying to ruin people's lives with like stupid rules or something. It's about that the universe operates on laws that are bigger than us. They're bigger than everything. And when we live out of alignment with them, the natural consequences of that are disastrous. The natural consequences of living out of alignment with the law of the universe, they're not fun. And I believe our higher power wants us to avoid that. And so that's why we have things like, these different commandments. Not just even in like the Christian scriptures, but, I feel like all scriptures from all the religions have laws like this, or sorry, like commandments like that, where people are, recommended to do and not do certain things that are the concept is get yourself in alignment with the laws of the universe. And so some of the laws of the universe are things like consequences, and things like, if you intentionally hurt another person, that kind of negative energy that you've put out into the universe is going to come back to you like a boomerang effect. When so what we call sin is really a self-sabotage, because it prevents us from living in alignment with the laws of the universe, or what it is us living out of alignment with the laws of the universe. And then the result of that is that boomerang effect. Whenever we are living out of alignment with how reality actually works, negative stuff comes back to bite us. And when we are living in alignment with the laws of the universe, when we're working with how reality actually works, then good stuff comes to us all the time. And so for me, if we kind of bring it back to this, the idea of what you might call like heaven, right? Would everybody be comfortable in heaven? Like, would we be comfortable having joy all the time? Would you feel peaceful without anybody to fight with? Would you feel happy without problems? Like, this is one of our big things that I feel like we're here to learn. How do we let go of our desire for problems? How do we let go of feeling more comfortable where there are problems? Okay, we have two sabotage thresholds, our upper and lower sabotage threshold. So what this means is the upper limit, excuse me, is how good you will allow things to get for yourself before you self-sabotage yourself back down into more comfortable territory. The lower limit is how bad you will let things get for yourself before you get your act together and drag yourself back up into more comfortable territory. So an example of this is with money. And guess what? Everybody has very clear sabotage thresholds around money. You do. You personally do. And if you look at your accounts, you will see it for yourself with your own eyes, and you might already know it. In our example, if you have an upper limit of $100 and a lower limit of 10, if you make $100, then you will feel rich and you will spend until you are solidly under $100 again. If you spend all the way back down to 10, your inner self will kick in and freak out and say, oh no, that's so low, that's too low. And it will help you earn enough to get back to a minimum of $10. So everybody has one of these. What is that for you? Is your upper limit $500, where you're really comfortable with having $400 in your account, 450, but once you get to 500, you're like, holy cow, I'm rich. I'm going to go buy a kayak or whatever. That is the upper limit. Now, the lower limit is going to be, for some people, it's in the negative. For some people, their subconscious minds don't kick them into gear until they're at negative thousands of dollars in debt, right? And so at least we need to bring it up to zero so that we're not living in other people's debt all the time. But adjusting these financial limits can make a big difference financially, because your own subconscious mind will stop being triggered so much. When things start to get good for you, instead of automatically going into self-destruct mode and spending all your money, you can just hold on to it, which is, better. Not that spending money is wrong, but it's good to have a reserve. And if you're always spending your reserve, you have a big problem. And then with the lower limit, it's kind of the same thing, where if you raise the lower limit threshold, then things don't get so bad for you before you take action. Do you want things to get down to negative $10,000 before you get your act together? Or would it be better if it was positive $10,000? That means that when you get to $10,000 in your bank account, you say, I better go do something to, increase my financial stability now. For me, I would rather have it be at $10,000 than negative $10,000. I think most people would agree with that. The higher your lower limit is, the easier your life is going to be by far. But everything in your life has limits that you placed there. You did it. How happy are you in your relationships? When do you sabotage because things are too good in your relationships? When do you scramble because things have gotten too bad? What is coming into my mind is an image of a man scrambling to go buy flowers because it got too bad with his wife. Like, that's the energy there. Like, how bad does it have to be before you're like scrambling to go buy flowers because you messed up? And what if you started solving your relationship problems when things were just a little bit bad? As soon as people started feeling just a little bit sad, what if then you could address it instead of waiting until it's a big disaster? How painful is your body? When do you sabotage because your body feels too good? When do you scramble because things have gotten too painful? And a quick story about that is I went out with a friend recently. We were getting massages. We don't do this normally, just so you know, but we did it one time. And it was so fun. And she said, do you have a low pain limit now, or a pain tolerance now? And I thought, well, I had 3 kids with a non-medicated births. So I don't know, I think I have a pretty high pain tolerance. She said, no, these days, like in the olden days, I used to let my body get to be such a mess before I would go and do things like get a massage. But now, the second that something hurts, I go and take care of it right away so that it doesn't become a problem. And I loved that. And as soon as she said that, I thought, oh yes, no, that is true for me too. Like, as soon as my body starts having a problem, it's on my radar and I'm like, okay, I need to start addressing this now. And so how painful is your body? Where are you in that threshold? Do you wait until things are unbearable? Or let's put it this way, how bad does it have to be before it's unbearable? And that's the thing for me and my friend. I think things don't have to be that bad before we're like in alarm mode and trying to fix it. When things are just a little bit bad, then we are fixing it. How bad does it have to be before you start to fix it with your physical body? How is your weight? Your upper limit in your weight loss is the plateau that you can never break through, right? So if you want to weigh, I mean, I'm just using this because it's an even number, but you want to weigh 100 pounds, but you can't break through 150, like 150 is your upper limit. That's as skinny as you can get. But if you are, and then the lower limit with weight, it's going to be the opposite, right? Because you want your numbers typically lower, like if you are needing weight loss. Say your upper limit, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, it's so confusing. The lower limit, the other limit is at 200 pounds. So once you get to 200 pounds, your body's like, now we're going to do intermittent fasting and exercise for 2 hours a day. Like, where are those lines for you? Where does it get so bad that you're finally like, okay, now I'm going to take my weight seriously? And where is it so good that you feel like you can't make your body bust through it, even though you want to? Like, that plateau is there as a self-sabotage threshold. How clean is your house? The upper limit is how clean things max out for you before you start making things cluttered again. Like, how long can you let your house be clean before you make it a mess? How clean can it get before you make it a mess? And then the lower limit is how bad do things have to be before you take action and get cleaning and tidying? Like, how cluttered, how dirty is your house before you start doing something about it? Okay, these are the thresholds. And in between the thresholds is where we're comfortable. You might say like, well, I'm used to bickering with my spouse all day. Like, that's where I'm comfortable. If things get too good with us, then I have to start a little fight with them. If things get too bad for us, I'm going to scramble and go get some flowers, but I'm really comfortable having some bickering every day. Or with the weight, you say, you might want to weigh a certain weight, but when you look at the numbers, you can see that there's something in your subconscious mind that's really comfortable where you are. Why is it comfortable there? Why is it uncomfortable at, the higher weight, where that limit where you say, oh no, now I really weigh too much. Now I can exercise back down. Now I can, diet back down, or whatever you do. And then what is the other end of the limit, where you are, that's the point where you can never break through it. You can never weigh less than that, no matter what you try. Or can you? Like, what is the situation here? It's the self-sabotage threshold. So we have to be able to change our limits, and we have to do that by changing our subconscious mind. But everything comes back to this. Your weight comes back to this. How beautiful people are, like, how beautiful will you allow yourself to be? How much will you take care of yourself? How about your health, your grades, like kids in school? How much studying are they willing to do? Are they willing to actually fill out the little worksheets and actually turn them in? When they're not willing to turn them in, that's a self-sabotage problem. How clean is your house? How much money do you have in your bank account? How are the relationships that you have with everybody in your life? How is your career? Are you moving up the way that you want to move up, or whatever? Like, are you in a career that you even like? Why not? All of these things come back to our self-sabotage thresholds. How happy are you willing to be? How happy are you willing to be? How healthy are you willing to be? How clean are you willing to have your house? All of this comes back to self-sabotage thresholds. Literally everything in your life has a link to how much you are willing to self-sabotage and how much you are not willing to self-sabotage. Where are you comfortable? That is all linked to all of this. We all just want to be comfortable. So what are you comfortable with? That dictates your sabotage thresholds. This is the question to ask yourself. How good will you let it get before you self-destruct? Ask your brain to remind you of the patterns. And as you ask yourself this question, you will probably remember some patterns of where things were good and then you self-destructed. A really common one of this is, going on vacation and then getting sick on vacation. You've looked forward to this vacation for so long and now you are sick. Or, another good example. Well, I got a comment in my Facebook group by somebody, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who you are, but they said, my spouse has had all of these problems. Like, they had this problem and that problem. Like, how am I supposed to think about this? How am I supposed to think about that all of these things happened all around the same time? Well, this is how you think about it. You think about it like this. Clearly, something was too good in this person's life, and their subconscious mind decided it was time to self-destruct. Like whenever I see big problems in people's lives, this is the first thing I think of. Like they are self-destructing. Why? Why is their subconscious mind so bent on self-destruction? Why do they feel like being happy is too good for them? Okay. The other half of the question is, how bad will it get before you get your act together? Okay. And again, money is an easy way to measure this because it literally comes in numbers. How empty does your account have to be before you get it together? How empty does your account have to be before you feel comfortable going out to lunch, right? How empty is it before you decide that you're going to start saving your money, or that you're going to get a new job, or work harder at your business? How bad does it get before you start to make some big changes? That again, money's an easy way to measure this, but this is a principle that's true in every aspect of your whole life. Okay, we're going to tap. Tap on your collarbone, and we're going to say out loud 3 times each. I am choosing to be open to new information on how I sabotage myself. I am choosing to be open to new information on how I sabotage myself. I am choosing to be open to new information on how I sabotage myself. I am opening my heart to clarity on my own self-sabotage. I am opening my heart to clarity on my self-sabotage. I am opening my heart to clarity on my self-sabotage. It could be safe to start the healing process so I can have a happier life. It could be safe to start the healing process so I can have a happier life. It could be safe to start the healing process so I can have a happier life. Okay, go ahead and put your hands on your heart. Deep breaths in. These are some journaling prompts. I'll put them in the place below. What are my numeric self-sabotage limits on my money? What are my numeric self-sabotage limits on my weight? What are my self-sabotage limits on my relationships? It's a little bit more nebulous there. And so one thing, I'll finish reading these. What are my self-sabotage limits in my other areas of my life? Why am I comfortable there? Why do I feel this is what I deserve? Okay, these are really important questions. So when it comes to the self-sabotage limits on relationships and other areas of your life where, with money, you can say, oh, I clearly have a self-sabotage limit at 0, for relationships, where's the line? And so what I would recommend doing is putting your other areas of your life on a numeric scale. Rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 would be like the most perfect relationship. You guys never fight, or like you always get along. When you have disagreements, you easily sort them out, and you just love each other so much that there's this constant collaboration to help each other. Like you're both conspiring to help each other be happy. And so disagreements just end up with the other one trying to help the other one be happy, that would be like a 10. And then 1 would be like, I don't know, super abuse. I don't know. But you're going to rate all of your relationships on that scale. You can rate your career on that scale, rate, how clean your house is. Is my house a 6 out of 10 clean? Is it a 2 out of 10 clean? Is it a 1 out of 10 clean? How high? Like, we want to raise that lower limit. We want to raise both limits so that we can allow things to be at a 10. And also so that we start fixing things when they get to be an 8, so that we only ever exist in the 8 to 10 zone, instead of, I think for most people, a lot of times their higher limit is something like a 2, and like their lower limit's like a 0 or lower than 0, right? Like, but raising up those limits is going to give us a lot more freedom and a lot more happiness. It will be easier to be happy when we have raised our self-sabotage limits, both the upper and the lower limit. Sorry, I took my video on so you could see me tapping, but let's keep going. Okay, so which thing is more important, the upper or the lower self-sabotage threshold? And the answer is the lower one. And I will just say, I previously thought it was the upper one. And I did years and years ago. I mean, I don't even know how many years ago. This was one of my first group sessions that I ever did, was on self-sabotage. And I focused exclusively on raising the upper limit so that we could allow things to get better for us before we would choose into self-destruction, which is great. I mean, yes, you do want to raise your higher limit, but actually the most important one is your lower limit. How bad will you let things get for you before you get your act together? How bad will you allow things to be before you get it together? That is the place that really matters, because if you are fine, so say your sabotage window is your higher limits at a 10, but your lower limits at a -10. You can let things be really good, but when it is self-destruction time, you're going to self-destruct really low. Like, that is no good. If your self-destruction mode gets you down to an 8 instead of a 0, like, your life will be so different. If your upper limit right now in your money is $500 and your lower limit is like, negative $1,000, raising that lower limit even just to 0, what that will mean for you is that you stop going into debt. Like, you stop stepping into debt as a natural state. When you raise it up to $400, even though your upper limit is still $500, your lower limit of $400 will make sure that you always have $400 in the bank. And when you don't, you get it into gear and you fix it so that you do. The lower limit is the one that's going to really shift things for you. Raising the upper limit is good, but fixing the lower limit is critical. Okay, as of this recording, I'm planning to do a lower limit self-sabotage session today, later today. And so I'll put the link for that below, because it's just in a few hours now. You don't have to be there live. You can view it, after the fact, and that is going to be perfect. But it's time to clear out our self-sabotage issues. It is time. We don't have an unlimited amount of time to just dilly-dally around sabotaging ourselves all the day. That is my opinion. To me, this feels really urgent. I woke up today feeling like, holy cow, this is urgent. So we're going to do it, and we're going to have a really good time. Guess what? You can do this. The purpose of our Earth life, in my opinion, is to help us let go of our toxic self-sabotage thresholds and step into allowing ourselves to be happy all the time. We can allow ourselves to be happy. And we have divine support to do this if we will accept it. I really and truly believe that our higher power and the entire universe as a whole actively desires for us to choose into being happy. Okay, it wants us to let go of our toxic junk that is keeping us sad. It wants us to be happy. So all we have to do is choose to accept it and do the work. So do those journaling exercises, do that tapping. If you want to, come and join me for the lower self-sabotage limit threshold session, which is going to be awesome. And geez, I hope that this expanded your perspective and that you can let go of some self-sabotage today. Now that you know, you can do better. Okay, you're the best. Have a great day.